Hello, everyone. We're so excited to go live today. I'm Candace Vandertholen, a holistic wellness educator, and I have with me today Beth Blaisdell. Did I say that correctly? I should have asked you
Oh,
that.
that's okay. It's Blaisdell.
Blaisdell. Oh my goodness,
Yeah.
embarrassing. Anyway, she's a money expert and a visionary in personal finance. Her background was in real estate, and she's really dedicated to helping the way women improve their financial futures. I'm going to let Beth really go into her background story and why her mission is so clear about helping women overcome their financial fears and gain clarity on their priorities so that they can build wealth on their own terms. So, Beth, I'm going to let you take it away. Can you just tell us like where everything started? Like, why this? Why now?
Yeah. Yeah, of course. Well, thank you so much for having this interview. I'm super excited. And, for me, it is combining my personal experience with my professional experience and to elevate women who are struggling with self-worth and also feeling stuck and paralyzed financially. Those two are connected.
Right.
So, personally, I went through 2 divorces.
Okay.
One was unexpected and not my choice. Second one was very toxic and my
Mhm.
choice.
Mhm. Mhm.
So I grew up religious and sheltered.
Mhm.
And so I was married at 19 to a Marine,
Mhm.
and we moved from sunny California to Springfield, Missouri.
Okay.
And yeah. So that was interesting. We'll just say that.
Mhm.
But I'm still in Springfield and I love it here. Um so I was thinking like how lucky am I to have found like the love of my life, and everything in my brain was planned at 19. Like all my life is just all planned out. Everything is great.
Mhm. Right.
Yeah. Later to realize that we were mismatched in many ways.
Mhm.
And one of those was in the money department.
Okay.
So he was a spender to the extreme, and
Okay.
I was a saver to the extreme. So there's nothing wrong with a spender and a saver, but when both of you use that,
Mhm.
as coping mechanisms,
Mm.
it doesn't jive.
Okay. Right.
So it was just a constant tension all the time of, he wanted these things. And I'm like, no, let's save money. And, you know,
Mhm.
typically he always won.
Okay.
So we were financing everything. We
Mhm.
financed a house that was too much for us. We financed 2 vehicles. We financed everything on credit. Like we rarely used cash for anything. And so when he left the marriage, we were just looking back, we were just months away from filing bankruptcy. I mean, we were so close.
Mhm.
And I'm just thinking, oh my gosh, it was just so stressed out all the time.
Right.
And so when he left, I just went in complete like panic mode. I'm like, okay, oh my gosh, he
Yeah.
makes all the money, and I make very little. So I'm
Right.
thinking, what am I going to do? So
Right.
I like jump into action immediately and I go into complete survival mode. And I lived there for a very long time, probably 10 years. I was in survival mode.
Okay.
And so it just caught up to me 13
Mhm.
years later. And I remember sitting on my couch just after leaving my second marriage
Mhm.
that was extremely toxic and feeling like I just couldn't continue living anymore. And,
Mm.
life was just too hard. I just remember going, like, God, I'm done. Like, I'm ready to come back now. Like,
Mhm.
this is just too
Oh,
hard. I'm sure I signed up for this, but, it doesn't feel like I did. So can I just like change my mind? And but it was scary because these thoughts were more than just thoughts. I was
right.
planning out like, how can I do this?
Wow.
And I just remember looking at my dog, my sweet puppy. I was alone in my house, sitting on my couch, like at night, going, okay, this is really scary.
Right.
So after I finally calmed down, you know, because ADHD, we can get really spirally, which is, yeah, which is exactly
Absolutely.
what
That's a thing.
yeah, completely spiraled out of control. And then I thought, okay, I opened my computer and found a therapist.
Mhm.
And she broke my world wide open. I mean, wide open. And I was just like, wow. So, anyways,
Well, and real quickly, I just want to add in, like, I think that's so important to talk about right now, especially not only is it May, May Mental Health Month, but so many people are going through financial struggle right now with the layoffs and the insecurity. And so I want to tap on the survival mode. What did
mhm.
that feel like? What did that look like? How was that presenting in your life?
Yeah, it was hyper independence. I can
Yeah.
do this on my own. I don't need anyone to help me.
Mhm.
I was very codependent,
Mhm.
so workaholic,
Okay.
zero boundaries.
Mhm.
I was hoarding my money.
Okay.
I mean, I did not want to buy anything. I whenever I left, or whenever my husband left me the first time, it was sad because like the apartment that I lived in had
Mhm.
nothing in it. It had a futon, a TV, a mattress on the floor.
Yeah. I've been there. I've been there with my
Yeah, and then I just kinda kept living in that, you know, frugalness, and it took a while for me to get out of that, but yeah,
Mhm.
very hyper independent, not accepting help, and I was angry,
Yeah, yeah.
very angry. Yeah.
So you're hitting on, like, so many things that I feel people are feeling right now because there's so much anger for many things, like, not only what's happening in the US, but also the anger for having their job taken or, just anger in general, and, it's like we still have to be able to express that and feel that, and I think we tend to go to these coping mechanisms, like you were saying, like, oh, because we're not actually dealing with it, we're just kind of sidestepping it over here to do this. And like, so I want to ask you, you said that you were living in this state of frugalness. And while, yes, like my grandfather always used to say, don't buy something if you, or don't buy anything on credit. If you don't have the cash, you don't have the cash. Like that was his, and I mean, he had all kinds of money. So he didn't, it wasn't that he was worried about it. He just had gone through the depression and really was about being responsible, which there is a balance in, like, how do you go from being frugal in your mindset to bridge it into responsible spending? Like, what is your advice there? How did you go from here to there?
Took a really long time. Yeah, it took a really long therapy actually really
Mhm.
helped. Now, it wasn't even financial therapy. It was
Yeah,
just understanding like why am I doing this? Why
right.
do I feel so bad?
Mm,
Why do I not want to spend on anything? Why do I feel like I need all this money in my savings account, which of course then it wasn't a whole lot, but I just was always, you know, in that mindset. So it was slowly working towards whatever it was. It was you know,
right,
paying off debt, starting an emergency fund, you know, buying a house, to rent it out, and just really just slow steps. And then
mm,
also being excited, you know, the energy when I was in the energy of lack and not enough, that I was always thinking about what I didn't have, what I wasn't going to have, you know, and all those things. And then once I got excited, I was
right,
like, wait a second, like things are happening when I feel good and things are not happening when I feel bad. And
right.
so I was just really trying to always put myself in a better state of mind. And of course, I did go through years of toxic positivity.
Yeah,
Everything's great. Life is good. Nothing's bad, you know. But then I would feel the feelings. Like at home, I would start to just really feel the feelings and get them out. Get out the anger, get out the sadness,
right.
cry, like the ugly cry that I
Yes.
don't want anyone seeing, you know. And and then just slowly stepping towards and then also what do I want my life to look like how do I want to
Mm,
feel,
Yes.
what I want my life to look like. And then once I really started to see the bigger picture and then take small steps to get there, that's
Right.
when things started to change for me.
Yeah, I love that. I mean, you're speaking my language anyway, energy. Like anytime anybody's like energy, I'm like, yes. Because like, we don't realize how much our energy exchange into our world, our environment really affects how we're receiving. And it can be the smallest things that come my way. Like we were out on a walk the other day and there was a penny face up too, which is so cool. Don't know if you're believing all that, but anyways, and I was just like, wow, thank you, universe. Like you're giving to me all the time. And it was like, that was the first thing. And then it was like something else came in later that day. That was like a massive refund that I received. And it was like, cool, because I was in gratitude for this small thing. This, and it's not like it always happens that way, but like you can anticipate things like that. And you mentioned something too about when you're in that energy of lack, it's so easy to see like what we don't have. And especially when you're in the middle of hardship, it's so much easier to go into that fear because it's our amygdala, but it's also our energy of like, I don't know what's gonna happen next. And you hit it right on when you were saying like, and then I got clear. And then I like took the steps one step at a time versus having to feel like it had to come all at the same time to be
Mhm.
successful. And so just to go back into your background, so you were in what like financial advising and
Mhm.
doing the things, and you still had to work through
Oh,
like
yeah.
all of the things. So as we're really thinking through it, why are you so passionate? First of all, you're really passionate about helping women, and why is that so important to you? Like what part of your journey do you feel connected those pieces?
Yeah. I want people to, I guess, feel the way I feel. Because I feel really good now, like right after I went through that moment of like, get me out of here, I changed my
Mhm.
mind. I started to like see things differently. I
Mhm.
watched Secret that really helped me to go, okay, now the law of attraction. And
Mhm.
then that helped me to say, okay, oh, like that's why I chose two men, one that cheated on me and another one that treated me and badly and belittled me
Mhm.
because like attracts like. So now, and then that led to Tony Robbins and that led to these other things. And it was just so interesting how just that perspective shift
Mhm.
led to like these tears.
Mhm.
The Secret led to Tony Robbins. And
Right.
then believing that I deserved better led to moving, leaving my second husband, getting into my house, and then, saving enough money. And I always like to tell my Tony Robbins story because right after I watched The Secret and saw Tony Robbins' I'm Not Your Guru, I thought, I want to see Tony Robbins so bad. Like, I
Mhm.
want to see him. And I thought, I didn't really believe at the time I could because I thought, well, he's too expensive.
Right.
And then it wasn't like a couple months later where I was working. They said, hey, we have this extra ticket to Tony Robbins Live. Do you want to go? And I was like, well, how much is it? Because I had just saved, like, I had an extra $2,000. I don't remember why. Maybe it was a bonus, but I had like an extra
Mhm.
$2,000.
Mhm.
And they said, well, with everything, it's going to cost $2,000. I was
Amazing.
like,
Mhm.
what? Yeah. So I was like, okay, there's something to this law of attraction. I don't know what it is, but there's something to it. So I'm going to keep going with it. So
Yeah.
that's like why I'm passionate. It's not to do the positive toxicity, but it's like just open your eyes and see what else is out there. Start to feel that you are worthy. Start
Mhm.
to see these tiny little things, like you said, the penny face
Yeah.
up.
So
Thank
good.
you. I'm so grateful, because like you
Mhm.
said, we're in the energy of gratefulness. That is where the doors open. We get the
Absolutely.
key. It's just that key to go boop, and we open up that door to like a new universe and we're like, wait a second, this
Yeah.
was here
Cool.
the whole time. Yeah.
Mhm.
And so that's why I'm passionate. And two, I've had a lot of conversations with people in general, but mostly women. Um, And the common denominator of how they felt, like
Mhm.
personally and professionally, they stay in toxic relationships, toxic jobs. They
Mhm.
allow people to treat them badly because of a feeling of not enough.
Mm.
And every single person, it came down to not enough. They're
Right,
worried about not having enough money today, and of course, years down the road. They're worried about the car they drive, the apartment they live in. It's not good enough, you know.
mhm,
They don't apply for jobs that they are perfect for because they're not qualified enough, you know, and it just keeps going and going and going. Not enough, not enough, not enough. So instead of getting curious and thinking, like, well, is there another way? They stay in their not enough story because that's their comfort zone. It's
right,
familiar.
right.
You know, leaving a husband is hard. Yeah,
Mhm.
leaving a job is hard because it's like, well, this is familiar, even
Right,
though I'm not comfortable. This is where I'm going to stay
right,
because I'm not really enough anyway, so what does it matter? You know, and it's like I remember thinking that. I remember thinking that so clearly when other people were saying like, "Beth, like what are you doing?" You know, like even like people were saying to me
right.
like, "What are you doing?" And I
Mm.
wouldn't leave and until I was just fed up.
Right.
And so and then started to believe that I am enough. So the word in therapy, let's see. Oh yeah. So what was coming up in therapy is what I remember something that, you know, completely, you know, rocks my world. And it's like, you know, what if this fails? But what if it doesn't? You know,
Right,
what if I leave and everything falls apart? But
right,
what if it
right.
doesn't?
Yes.
What if I leave this job that is good enough for another job and but it's even more toxic? But, you know, what if it isn't? You know,
Right.
so much fear that leads to not fully enjoying life and then staying in that story. And it
Mhm.
just reminds me, I know a lot of us have seen that meme on social media, it's where it's again at the exact
Oh,
right time, you know, do that says, "What if I fall? But oh,
mhm.
darling, what if you fly?"
Oh, I love that so much. I love that. Thank you, Beth. Like, I agree with you. I think
Oh,
that it's so I know, I love it's very emotional. You can tell that you care about it because you've healed through that, like, you've moved through that. And that's why this work is so important is because you do see just exactly how much we don't value ourselves. And it's not necessarily all our fault. Like we've literally been told like to place ourselves, especially as women, place ourselves second. We're finally coming out of that. It's been an evolution, right? But not only that, but it is easy to stay in the familiar and be like, well, this at least takes care of things, so I'm just going to stay. And I will tell you, like, the universe makes it so uncomfortable for you to stay when it's out of alignment. Like, you will get confirmation after confirmation after confirmation, and then you're like that 18th, you're like, "Okay, fine." Like, I get it. And here's something that I tell people often is that when you're in alignment and like, yourself and you have that inner knowing, which is scary at first. I talked about this the other day. It can be so nerve-wracking to get to know ourselves because we have all these stories like you're talking about, and it can be so challenging to wanna face that. And it becomes that moment of like, when you are in alignment and your yes is a yes, it's like a feel good, visceral yes. When it's a no, it's not a missed opportunity. And
yes.
that's what a lot of times we're holding ourselves to these other things because we're afraid that it's going to be a missed opportunity. Like, well, what if I stay in this position and I'm just about to get the promotion or the raise or whatever? And it's like, but what if you're not? Like, you're staying in something that you really can't control anyway. But what if when you say no and you place that boundary, the next thing that's meant to be comes in?
Yes.
And it's like I was just on a conversation with someone and she had been laid off at the beginning of the year. But because of that layoff, she now has a position that she is fully in alignment with. And I
Mm,
mean, yes, and I mean, and it took all of the back work that she did, like being on platforms where, like here, where we're networking and we're truly getting to know people. And so it was a slightly bit of a less time lag, right? But again, she positioned herself to be with herself and allow that opportunity to come in. And I think again, it's like, yeah, we can always stay here, but when we're ready to move here, it's just you feel it. You feel so different. And I love what that you are sharing so vulnerably too. Like it's so much to like put your story out there and share, and then the emotion that you're even feeling. And I think it's because you really care about what you're saying, and like you're like, if I could just get this into people's hands and let people know how valuable they are, how they matter, and how, you don't have to stay in what doesn't resonate for you anymore. um, yeah, and so, hang on, I had a really great question that I'm doing something that I don't know I'm doing. Sorry, guys. Technical
that's
stuff.
okay.
It's just gonna be wherever we are on the screen. We're not gonna.
Yeah.
Anyways, I'm just gonna let it be. Okay, so as a former credit counselor, you saw firsthand the reoccurring mindsets that led to financial hardship.
Yeah.
What are some, and I know we've gone through some of them. What would you say is the other thing? Like,
Well, it kind of just goes back to the same thing. It's the reoccurring is a deep sense of lack, a
mhm,
deep sense of lack. And again, not worrying that they had enough. Every single client
mhm,
that, I would work with, it was a different story.
mhm.
Their situation was unique, but it was the same. So some people were like, because there's different not enoughs, there's different not
Right,
enoughs. So the
right.
first one is survival mindset.
Mhm,
I just need to get by. I just need to get by. Focus
mhm,
on making it through the day or the
mhm,
month. And then
mhm,
long term planning feels out of reach and even
mhm.
pointless. So, no long term planning because I'm not thinking about, 10 years down the road. I'm not even thinking about tomorrow. I'm just
Right,
thinking about the day. Yeah. And so that leads to using your credit card, that leads to
right.
overspending, that
Mhm.
leads to, so many things that are harm.
Go ahead.
Mhm.
I was gonna say, why do you feel that? Like, why do you feel we go to the credit card or, these other methods of paying when we already know that we're just making it? Like, why do you feel that people do
Mm.
this? And I'm sure there's multiple reasons, but
Yeah, there's multiple reasons, but a lot of the time it's just to fill a void. It's to feel better. We get
Mhm.
that hit whenever we buy something, because you know how it is when you're on Amazon or Etsy and you're like, that is so cute. That purse would look so good on me. Those shoes, adorbs, and then we buy it. We're so excited. And then we get the credit card statement. We're like,
Right.
why did I do that? Why did I do that? Of course, then the shame hits, the
Mhm.
shame. And then we just keep going in the cycle again until we're ready to break it. And sometimes that cycle needs to be broken through a therapist,
Mhm.
or sometimes people, can kind of be aware of it and break out of it. But
Yeah.
yeah, that's typically what I saw is just some type of filling a void, some type of deep sadness.
Mhm.
Some people had just lost a parent or lost something in their lives,
Yeah.
so there's all kinds of things.
Yeah. Well, and
Um,
do you feel like that's a form of self-sabotage in a way? Like almost
mm,
self-fulfilling prophecy of like I'm always going to be here. And so
yep.
you naturally like go and you buy the things that you're like, I know I shouldn't do this, but man, it feels good. And then what's funny? You get that product and you use it like a couple of times and you don't even care. You're like, it
Totally.
didn't bring you near as much joy as you thought you were going to have. And that's
A
when
lot of times they didn't even like open the package.
oh my gosh, yeah.
Yeah, it just sits in their
Like,
closet.
it's
Just
there
sits in the
forever,
closet.
sits in the closet. Like, that was
Mhm.
one of the things that I shifted for myself this year was that, really when I invest and it's in alignment, it always comes back to me. Because again, like I was really good at like putting things in the cart and just buying it or not even getting to the cart. It would just buy now. And I stopped that last year where I was like, okay, I need to pause before I buy ADHD brain. Like, let's just wait and make sure that we truly need this, want this, etc. And now I shifted it even to knowing and being in that full alignment for like when I know I'm meant to purchase this thing, that it's going to return back to me. And it
Mm.
has not failed me yet. Like it's literally working. So for
Yeah. I do that. So I leave things in the cart for quite a
Mhm,
while. And
mhm.
I'm like, okay, do I need this? Do I not like, I really think about it a lot. And so a lot of times I'll just save for later and then I'll just completely delete it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
So
I
I love the whole,
don't
mhm.
know how to find my save for later. Like, it's
Oh,
funny. Like, I have it there, but I don't ever go back to it, but
oh, yes. Well,
that's
yeah,
true.
I mean, that's good. Yeah. So that's good.
Yeah.
So another mindset that I saw was like the comparison mindset.
Mhm.
Others have more, so I must be falling behind.
Mm,
That leads to feeling of adequacy, jealousy, and shame.
mhm,
And this is where we see like a lot of keeping up with the Joneses. I need to
mm,
have this type of house. I need to have this type of car. I need to have this type of job because I need to, be whatever. I need to, I'm comparing myself.
right.
And that is extremely financially harmful.
Mhm,
Um, and I
mhm,
did see that a lot. And
mhm,
then the last one was a victim mindset. Money
mm,
problems happen to me. You know, you don't know my situation. It is special. And so they would say, yes, your situation is unique, but it's not special because, we're all going through money problems in one way or another. So,
right.
yes, unique. Let's figure out a plan to get through it. But if we think
Mhm,
that we're special, we're always going to be in that victim mindset all the time. So,
mhm,
it avoids responsibility. I call it a cop out,
mhm.
blaming external circumstances like the economy,
Yeah,
um, for all of our financial challenges. And even if like you lose your job, okay, yes, that is unique. Or because of the economy, you're not able to do certain things, or because you lost your job. I mean, that is true. But
mhm.
if we keep telling ourselves the story that I'm special, then we're just going to keep believing that and keep doing the same thing we've always been doing with our money.
Right, right. Well, and it doesn't serve the purpose, like to get through it. Like I'm really big on like we honor how we feel and we are able to move through it. But like if it's like we can't put it away and not deal with it, but we also can't sit in it forever. Like there's that divine balance of like acknowledgement and then okay, now what do we do to move forward? And just speaking about all the things that we're seeing in the world, like how do you feel people can maintain their energy exchange with money, right? How do they maintain that connection point? Or how can they even improve it in hardship? Like how can people take what they're going through and make it something better?
Yes. So I have like the 4 stages to transforming your finances. But yeah, the first step is just the awareness. Awareness is huge. So like awareness of your financial habits.
Mhm.
Are you an overspender? Are you a hoarder? Do you even have a money plan at all? Do you
Mm,
even know how much is coming in and how much is going out?
right.
So, yeah, awareness is huge because when we are going through money struggles, this
Mhm.
is the time where we have to get down and deep in the woods and start to say, okay, this is a problem and I can't avoid it anymore. um, and I would see a lot of my clients just not open their credit card statements and
Mm.
because they're terrified. They're like, I don't wanna open it, and it was hard, and it was scary, and, that even gets to me now because it's just, like, shaking and just so nervous to open up those statements, like, what am I gonna find? I don't even wanna know how much debt I have,
Wow.
but
Yeah.
we have to know,
Yeah.
and so the awareness and,
You know what I
the
wanna add real
yeah,
quick is that you come from not a place of judgment, and that is something that I think people really need to hear is like when you're heading to a
Mm,
financial, advisor or planner or whatnot, like these people are here to help you. And even,
yes,
going to work with Beth, it's like here to help, not to judge. And like that was what I even
exactly.
like feeling you say, like, oh, it gets to me now because you can tell the struggle that someone's going through. And you're like, hold on, let me be your guide and let me help you get through this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. And it's interesting that you brought that up because I heard a phrase from Martha Beck. I don't know if you follow her at all. Amazing. She has
Okay.
a new book coming out that's called, or that is out, Beyond Anxiety. And
Mm,
so, yeah, she's great. You should follow her.
yeah. Absolutely.
But she was saying that there's a phrase that many people resonate with when it comes to getting past a hard time and
Mhm,
kind of retraining your brain to think differently. Because
mhm.
again, we're very mean to ourselves. A lot of us
Yes.
are. And so the phrase that she said most people resonated with, which
Mhm.
is, I am meant to live in peace.
Mm,
So, yeah, so look in the mirror every day, every night, however many times you need to do it. Just say,
right.
I am meant to live in peace. And really start to embody that, start to feel it. Because for some reason, we like to torture ourselves.
Right.
We
No,
like
we're
to
really
torture
good.
ourselves or just ignore what's going on. But we can't. We can't do that anymore, especially if we're going through money struggles. And
Mm,
so, yeah, so just it is very much not shaming yourself, even
right.
if you think other people are. Just don't do that. Try to avoid doing that to yourself and really have phrases and stuff put in place, habits put in place that
Right.
will help you get through the day because money struggles are really awful. I mean, when you think about it, as soon as you wake up in the morning,
Mhm.
you think about it all day long. You're having a hard time working. You're having a hard time concentrating because all you can think about is the money you don't have.
Right.
Yeah. And then you go to sleep. And of course, us ADHD people, our eyes are just like pow. And all like we can't sleep because we're thinking about our money problems. So
Mhm.
it's
Right.
just,
Yeah.
yes. And it's terrible. It's awful. So awareness also of what you're saying to yourself.
Mhm.
And I like to start with the awareness of also like the words. So I've started to use different words and I start to be aware of what do I align with, not do what do I deserve, not what do I deserve, because we deserve anything we want, but what do I align with, career, debt, debt
Mhm.
freedom, relationships. So instead of saying like, when it is in dating, oh, don't even get me started on that. But instead
Right.
of saying like this kind of energy, oh, I hope they like me. I hope they like me. Start to say like, I hope I like them,
Right. Right.
and how much like, and this is where I want people to understand too, is really getting clear on your numbers, money in, money out, all of them. So how much instead of saying how much will I get approved for a mortgage, say how much can I
Mhm.
realistically afford for a mortgage that aligns with my financial plan. But if
Mm.
you don't know what your financial plan is, if you have no idea how much you can afford, then you can't, how are you supposed to do that? So awareness, awareness, awareness.
Right. It's like that's awareness is like the first step towards clarity because we
Yes.
can't fix or see what we are not ready and prepared to deal with. And so being
Mhm.
able to just see it while it's uncomfortable. And that's the thing I think I'm hearing you also say is like it's a maybe not yet thing. So
Mhm.
if you're not at the place to do these things yet, then just remind yourself it's a not yet thing. It doesn't have to be like all this stuff. So anyways, okay, keep going.
Yeah, and then the second one is take action. So we can be aware all day long, but if we don't do anything about it, that's not going to do any good.
Right.
That's what I felt like was missing in the law of attraction. They're like, just be this way and everything's going to fall into place. It's like, okay, great, but you got to do something about it. You can't just sit there and think your way through. So, yeah. So it starts here, it starts in the awareness, and then it goes into our actions.
Right.
So daily actions. This is something that has been transformational for me and transformational for my clients, which is so simple. It's tracking your discretionary expenses.
Okay.
Yeah, track your discretionary expenses and set allotted amounts for those because, people can just say, oh, my mortgage is this, my car payment is this, my credit card debt payments are this, easy peasy, whatever. But then when it comes to groceries, gas, online shopping, all those things, I would actually have them do this. I would say, okay, write down what you think you spend, like just what you think you spend.
Mhm.
And then typically it was double what they actually spent because we're going
Wow.
through the budgets and there was, on paper, I like to say on paper, there's money
Right.
left over. On paper, there's money left over, but there isn't.
Right. Wait.
So where is that money going? And that was their discretionary, expenses, because that's not something a lot of people put into their budget or a lot for. They just spend, 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 and then go, oh, okay, I'm out of money. Or, why do I have such a big credit card payment at the end of the month? So that is huge, is tracking your expenses and setting limits for your discretionary spending.
Right. And
And
that's,
then,
I
mhm,
think it goes back to, when we went into the card modality instead of having to have physical cash, it's
yeah,
so much easier to see the exchange go out whenever we have cash, which I think I have like a $10 bill on me right now, So it's like we don't do that anymore. And it was really helpful because then it helped you see what you actually had to spend. And so quick tip, how do you how do you help people be more mindful
mhm.
of their spending when they are just like swiping? Is it just the act of writing it down? Do you think that really helps them see it?
It is separate accounts. It is
Okay.
having a account for your bills specifically. So
Okay.
okay, these are my fixed and flexible bills. So mortgage, rent, utilities, stuff like that, like the bills that you have to pay that are coming out. And
Yes.
then a second account or a credit card or a debit card.
Mhm.
I say credit card, obviously with a grain of salt.
Right.
Or even cash if you want to, but I know a lot of people aren't going to do that anymore. And so that is specifically for your spending. And that could be every 2 weeks, every time you get paid. That could be monthly, whatever is easiest for you.
Mhm.
And then, so say you have $500, at the beginning of that time frame, and then
Mhm.
as you spend money, just minus it out. And you can use an app on your phone. There's an app called Good Budget that's free, or you can just put like that notes app that we have on our phone, just notes. You could just put it in there too, $500, and then anytime you spend, minus it out because we always have our phone on us, so it's just so
Right.
easy. And or like a prepaid debit card. Some people love to use those prepaid debit cards, which is great. So it's a separate account and it is tracking when you spend. And then also maybe every couple days you kind of look and go, okay, did I forget something? And then just make sure that you didn't forget something. But yeah, so that is huge and that makes a giant difference in your finances. Because that's where a lot of money drains go, is not paying attention to your discretionary expenses.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, cool. What's the next? Like,
Let's see. So, and then also taking action, like, learning new financial skills. There's just a lot of, there might be some free classes that you can take. So yeah, so financial skills, that's a big one. And then create like a vision board. So this was fun. This is something I did to really understand, like, what do I want? I don't know, so you can create a vision board. And then, of course, have some kindness with yourself.
yeah.
And the second one is accountability. We have to be accountable. So stay accountable to yourself. So
Mhm.
do what you say.
Right.
Now, if you don't, we don't want to shame ourselves. We just want to get back on track.
Right.
Let's, yeah, spring back. If something happened, we don't want to shame ourselves, but stay accountable to yourself.
Mhm.
Try new things to see if they work for you.
Mhm.
Like when I was super broke, like super broke, I tried new
Mhm.
things, and which one of them was making my own laundry detergent because laundry detergent is super expensive. And
Right?
I was like, what's this all about? And so I did that for 2 years, and that was interesting and fun.
Yeah.
So yeah,
And that's
try new
obviously was interesting and fun.
well, it was at the time. And
Yeah.
then like the people at work were like, "Can you make it for me?" So like, I'd sell it to them for super cheap, and it was just interesting. But yeah, try new things because this is a journey. This is something that we're going to learn as we go. First,
Mhm.
I mean, some people think that they're doing it wrong. I'm doing it wrong. I'm doing it wrong. I'm like, you're not doing it wrong. This isn't like a, you know, one size fits all. You can do whatever works for you, but you got to stay accountable to yourself.
Right.
And then the last one is automate. So once you really get clear on your plan, start to automate all of your bills. So automate however much, savings that you can realistically afford from your paycheck to your savings account. And then you
Mhm.
start getting used to that. Start automating all of your bills coming out every month and just make sure that you have enough money in your bill account for
Right.
that. And then plan all of your money like ahead of time, like before you get paid.
Mhm.
So instead of getting paid and worry about your money later, just know what is going to be set aside, what you need to pay going forward, and then bring your paycheck down to zero. It
Yeah.
doesn't mean you have to do that exact plan, but just know like this is what I'm planning on doing and this is where I want that money to go. And so planning ahead of time is
Mhm.
a big deal.
Yeah. I love that. My husband's
Mhm.
like cheering you on from the background somewhere. Like he just like he's very good at this. Like he'll plan because he's a logistician anyway, but he'll plan like the whole year in advance, which is
Oh,
great
wow.
because I'm not the planner. But yeah. So anyways, and then what's your is it are you on 3 or 4th step? What is your
Oh,
next?
yeah, that was the last one.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Amazing.
it was awareness, action, accountability, and automate.
Okay. I love that. Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I know that we're coming at the end of our like live event, but how can people work with you? What's the best way for them to connect with you? And yes, what does that look like?
Sure. So they connected with me on LinkedIn,
Mhm.
Beth Blaisdell. I've had a lot of great contacts there. On social media, I am on Facebook, budgeting through breakups. Substack is the same. TikTok is the same. And then, of course, they can go to my website, budgetbybeth.com.
Mhm.
So, yeah, all those ways.
Love it. Well, and what's like one like key action step that you think people could take today if they're listening in and they're like, I just need to do one thing. What do you think and that
Mm,
might be two things, but like what do you think would
yeah. The one thing, gosh, there's so many of them, but this is really important. So instead of saying, I can't,
Mhm.
like, whatever it is, I can't do it. This isn't for me. How can I? How can I? If you are either not in a place you thought you'd be financially,
Mhm.
if you're struggling with money, whatever the case is,
Mhm.
no, I can't do it. No, how can I? And
Mhm.
then your mind and your brain is going to start searching for ways that you can. And don't underestimate the small steps. Don't underestimate those small steps
Right.
because those small steps will lead to bigger actions down the road. Like it's just one tier. So you get to this tier, gets to that tier, and the next thing you know, you're like, okay, I'm planning out my mortgage, I'm paying off my car, I'm completely debt free. Like once you get that momentum going, is when you can start. So start today. How can I?
Oh my gosh. That was like the perfect way to end this. I appreciate your time today. I know that you have a busy schedule. And so just taking out the time to be here and to provide this information, I just really appreciate it. And I appreciate anyone that joined us live. And if you have questions, please feel free to reach out to us, put it in the comments, however it, sees is the best for you. But we will let you guys go for now. I hope you have a beautiful day and we look forward to more conversations like this.